I noticed. You okay?
Yes.
Look, momentum, right? Jump, tap, right? One move, jump, tap.
I know how to do it, Dad.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
Really? Because it didn't look like it from my end.
I messed up on the timing.
Jump! Ah. Like that. You see what I did? You see what I did?
No, you're like this small.
I jumped and tapped.
We interrupt this program to bring you...
All right, everybody. My name is Kevin.
My name is Adam.
And I'm Julie.
And we are the Real Movie Guys, and we're doing it live. This episode of The Real Review, where we're taking a look at Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Scott Lang, Hope Van Dyne, along with Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne, explore the quantum realm where they interact with strange creatures and embark on an adventure that goes beyond the limits of what they thought was possible. Well, guys, a little bit different. Nice to have everyone in person. Adam is visiting us today, and
right.
I thought we would celebrate the occasion by doing a live episode. Not something we've ever done on the channel before, so I think this is pretty cool. Hopefully you guys like it. If you do like it, it's something we'll tweak and mess with to try and do this a little more often. 'Cause it's just a little bit better. It's nice seeing you
It's
in
nice.
the person.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a
I
little
agree.
bit nicer. I definitely appreciate it a little bit more. But you're here to hear us talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, so that is what we will be talking about today. All right, guys. I'm going to tell you, the critics have been a little rough on this one. I've seen some big hate on there. I was a little nervous going in. Kind of falls in with what's been going on with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think, lately. Bit uneasy, right? Black Panther, Wakanda Forever wasn't the greatest thing. We've just check out our last review on that.
Right.
Doctor Strange, I enjoyed. I know some of the fans were kind of mixed on that, too. Thor, Love and Thunder, same thing.
Right.
Some of the shows kind of been up and down.
Yeah.
I will say, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, not bad. Honestly, I thought I had a really good time. If you're looking for a good sci-fi adventure, I think that's this movie. Is it anything spectacular? No. Is it the best Ant-Man movie? Don't think so. But I will say I had a really good time. I kind of turned my brain off, watched this. It was nice to see everybody back. Adam, some early thoughts on it? What'd you think?
Yeah, I was a little hesitant going into it just because it is supposed to be an Ant-Man film, and I didn't know, given the trailers that we saw, how different it was actually going to be. But, I think it worked. I think that it worked very well. It was very enjoyable to watch it.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree. I didn't see myself looking at the clock anytime soon.
Right.
This was one of the shorter Marvel movies, which is not really saying much because it's still a little over 2 hours, but it wasn't almost the 3 hours that Black Panther was.
Right.
Julie, how about you? What did you think of this one?
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed this movie. The length definitely helped, but even with it being over 2 hours, it didn't feel like it.
Right.
Because I was enjoying myself the entire time. There was at no point where I was like, oh, is this going to be over yet? And I like to see an Ant-Man movie now where, he's been definitely more of one of the comical characters throughout the MCU, but to see him in a movie where there's actual stakes for the rest of the MCU. And probably, I'd have to really look at what movies count towards this current phase. Might be my favorite movie of this phase.
I don't know if I would go that far.
I'd have to double check the
I'm still
list,
leaning
but-
towards Doctor Strange for me.
I'm right there with you.
I think it's the Sam. Maybe it's the Sam Raimi talking to me.
maybe.
I don't know,
It's
but
the
maybe.
Paul Rudd talking to me. So.
yeah, I wouldn't be
Okay,
surprised.
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised. Or the Baskin Robbins, right?
Oh, yeah.
But no, good. Honestly, this was a really good movie, and the real reason it works really isn't honestly so much due to Ant-Man and the Wasp and his daughter there. It would actually be Kang.
Yeah,
Kang
absolutely.
is a huge surprise for me. Jonathan Majors, I don't really know him from much. I know he's been around here and there. I have to tell you guys, if you thought Thanos was a good villain, I think Kang is going to be even better. Right now, based on what they're giving us, he's got a presence about him. He's got the whole, just with a look, he can tell you a feeling. And I think it's really special, especially in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where actors are few and far between as far as skill. It's kind of like the Christian Bale effect. I've always said where Christian Bale was in Thor, and I was like, why are you in this movie?
Right.
His A-game.
You're way too good.
Yeah.
Why are you trying so hard?
Right.
And Jonathan Majors, he knows the assignment. He's turning in an A+ grade for me for this because he's there. He's the villain. He's
Absolutely.
imposing. He's everything I want in a villain, especially for it to be this believable threat that is going to haunt the cinematic universe going forward. Adam, I know you were impressed too.
Absolutely. He arguably stole the show a lot of the times that he was on the screen. That I wanted to know more about him. I wanted to know more about his character,
And it
I
wasn't
wanted to see
overacting.
No,
by any
absolutely
means.
not. No,
right? Because
it-
you know how like we get a villain, it's like that cheesy,
Right.
over the top
Campy.
kind
Yes,
of delivery.
yes.
Very right. Campy,
Yes,
I think
yes.
is a good word for it. Definitely wasn't that here. I don't
No,
think.
no,
very
not at all.
subdued and just
He-
knows the assignment.
the presence that he brought to the
Yeah.
screen, it was definitely like he didn't even have to say anything, and you know that the tone that he brought, it was just like very intimidating.
And not even that, just a physical specimen.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, the guy is huge. I
Yes,
mean, we've seen him.
yes.
He's going to be in the new Creed movie, and he is like
Yeah.
a brick shit house. I don't know what
Yep.
else to tell you. He is huge, and I think it's going to pay off because there's a scene where he doesn't have his powers anymore, and he's fighting
Right.
Paul Rudd, Ant-Man. It's like, why is this a contest?
Yeah.
At some point, it's kind of like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
He's that good, and he's able to pretty much beat the crap out of Ant-Man. It's believable.
Right.
He's a believable presence.
Right.
And Julie, what do you think of the range too? Because we've seen him in Loki before,
Yes.
so this isn't the first character he's kind of played as Kang.
Right, and to see him, pretty much two completely different characters is just very impressive, and I'm very excited to see him, continuing forward. But even going back to his presence, while he is such a physical force, the first, chunk that we're introduced to him, he's not doing any fighting, but it's just calmly talking and explaining, and that he is something or someone to be feared.
Yeah, I think so. I think there really is just something there. And again, I can't wait to see. 'Cause there's going to be more of him. This is obviously a variant of Kang, and I won't go into too many details because we've seen one before. But Kang will have a presence going further in the Marvel Cinematic
Right.
Universe, and it's going to be a big deal. I think it really is. And if that worked, how was the rest of the movie? Fine. It's one of those things.
That's good.
And I can see what some of the critics are saying about that, where like Jonathan Majors was such a standout presence in this
Right.
movie. The rest of the movie can kind of look almost underwhelming to some extent, but
Yeah.
it's not that it's underwhelming. I think a lot of people have an issue where maybe it feels a little bit unoriginal. This movie is very sci-fi heavy influenced. We've seen Disney themselves haven't really been able to pull this off successfully with Star Wars,
Right.
and if anything, this is probably the best Star Wars movie that isn't Star Wars.
That's just pretty funny.
In a lot of ways, and it's unfortunate for Disney
Yes,
to have
yes,
that comparison.
it is.
Right.
But the world itself is very interesting. The quantum realm, even though it could be a bit of as the plot's needed, because we don't get
Right.
a lot of answers, which again that might be something too critics have had an issue with. Not us though. I think I really enjoyed my time with this movie. This is the most different Ant-Man movie, and whenever Marvel I think steps out of the box with things,
Right.
I like to see them try something a little bit different. Like
Yeah.
first Ant-Man was strictly a heist movie, and it worked great for that. It introduced us to the characters. Second movie was a little more of a heist action hybrid.
Right.
Maybe a little bit of sci-fi thrown in there.
Right.
This one's like, nope, straight
Yeah.
sci-fi. We're not even messing around. We're in the real world. The on Earth for about 10, 20 minutes.
If
maybe,
that,
If
if
that.
that.
They just jump right in and they
Yep.
go for it. And the movie's better for that.
I think so.
And it knows what it is. It knows it wants to have fun and tell this really interesting, like sci-fi story, which we don't get many of those. I
Right.
really think. Again, we're not getting it from Star Wars, so at least we're getting it from somewhere. What did you think of the world, Adam? Especially like a lot of the characters involved. I think were really interesting too.
Yeah, I liked all of the set designs. I mean, they may mostly probably be just CGI, but I mean, like the colors is just so vibrant, and a lot of the characters that were added, like some of the extra, I guess.
Pink little guy.
Yes, the pink little guy, or some of the other militia people, if you will. They were all just very well designed. I liked their colors and
Right, and they're not aliens. I think that's like a keen distinction we have
Yes.
to make. Like we've seen in Guardians of the Galaxy, we have aliens.
Yes.
And this is not aliens. This is another realm.
Right.
So you have a lot of you don't have to. Nothing has to really make sense.
right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of fun for the Marvel universe.
Right.
We're not really held on to anything so tightly.
Right.
Yes.
I think Janet Van Dyne, she refers to it like of universes within universes. So it's like there is no explanation. I think it's kind of interesting too, though, if you think about it at like a grander scale. Like we don't have a true understanding of our universe and what's beyond, and that's true. Like Hank had thought he understood the quantum realm. He studied it for 30 years, and it was nothing like any of his research showed. So
Right.
It's just,
And again, they kind of wave off the
Yeah.
explanation, which. It is what it is. It didn't bother me. Some people, it's probably going to. Where it's like there's a layer
Probably.
upon a layer of this quantum realm, and Yeah, I mean, I can
I
kinda
can
see
see
people
that
being annoyed.
affecting, some
But
reviews. Yeah.
I don't think it's a big deal to me. I think
No.
they're having fun with it, and this is the story they're telling. But besides that, I think also just Paul Rudd, incredible actor. Obviously, even if he's not even acting, he's just being Paul Rudd. It works for
Yeah.
this movie. He is Scott Lang. He's the Ant-Man. He's this character that's just the everyday guy thrown in a crazy situation and kind of
Right.
dealing with it. And to some degree, I do wish they explored it a little bit more. The movie kind of opens up with Paul Rudd just being like, "I'm happy with my life. I'm
Right.
having a good time.
Yeah.
I'm kind of simple. Petting, taking pictures with dogs,
Yeah.
and having Baskin Robbins and getting free coffee because they think I'm Spider-Man." Like, there's some funny it's a good joke, and it's an interesting world. While he's doing nothing, everyone else is kind of doing something. Even his daughter, who is somewhat not estranged, but there's definitely a time missing between them,
Right.
and she thinks he should be doing something with his life, kind of, while she's trying to save the world, and he's just
Right.
kind of, "I'm good just being a dad now. Like, I don't really want to
Already
do
saved
anything
the
else."
world.
Yeah, I already did
Right.
that. Like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to do it again.
Right.
There's an interesting thing there, which they don't really explore too much. They kind of start to. They drop it, and then they kind of pick it up again. But really, it's just, I think the family dynamic between the Pym and the Lang family, I think, is really what's
Yeah.
there. Evangeline Lilly, Hope Van Dyne, she did a really great job.
Yep.
Of course, the Wasp. Michael Douglas, the shining star of this movie.
Clearly.
I have to tell you.
Clearly.
His one-liners.
I don't think he really cares about being in a Marvel movie, and it does show, but it's so funny, and it works for the character that it doesn't bother me. I feel like Hank Pym is the exact same way.
Yeah.
It's like, I like my ants. I'm
Yes,
here. I'm
yes.
having a good
He's just
time.
acting himself at that point.
Yep.
And he's like, there's a scene where he goes to a canteen, and he's just like, "Give me the strongest drink you got here. I don't care."
I don't know your customs, but I know you have something
Yeah,
to get me drunk.
I know,
Yeah,
that's all
yeah.
it is. And I really like that. And I think that works for that character. So,
funny.
regardless if he's really, putting in all the effort, it worked for me. I think it's like,
Right.
I'm going to remember more of his lines than some of the other stuff that was in this movie.
He's
Right.
there for the ants.
He's there for the ants. And then Michelle Pfeiffer, phenomenal actress, playing Janet, who we didn't spend a lot of time with, but interesting how they took her story and kind of tied everything together.
Right.
Even though, again, there's always going to be that argument where it's like, well, you kind of could have elaborated a little bit more on this sooner, or
Right,
something like that.
yeah.
It's just kind of just like the plot's like purposely just withholding information.
Exactly. Yes.
And that is an issue, I think.
I'm sure some people will have an issue with that, but like,
Yeah, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say how deep can we possibly go at this
Right.
point? You kind of just
It's
like
tough
leave it
'cause, like,
open.
we're talking from Ant-Man 2 to now.
Yeah.
It's two different phases, two different times.
And they were all blipped,
Yeah.
That's true. That's
you
true.
know?
Right.
And the withholding of information, I think, helped build the suspense to the Kang reveal. I mean, we all knew it was going to be him, but like, he was just referred to as like him.
It's
well,
a
first
comic
it was
book-
nothing, and then
It's
Right.
a comic book trope.
Right.
It really is. Like, oh, you didn't tell me this bit of information.
Right.
You work the plot to what you need to tell a news
Yeah.
story. And if it means kind of like backtracking and changing everything, not necessarily changing, but maybe elaborating a little more
Right.
to where it's kind of loosey-goosey with its explanation. Is it bad? No. But I think, again, just kind of like this movie. Is it bad? No. I could see people being annoyed with it, but I think it works overall. And I think it's just a fun experience if you can turn your brain off. I mean, Fast and the Furious can go on like 10 movies at this point. I can't see why Scott Lang can't go travel to the quantum realm. And we
Yeah.
can't just have a good time with it. I
Yeah.
don't understand why that's a problem.
family.
Yeah, family. And that's what this movie's about.
That's
Family.
true. That's
take,
true.
Take notes, Fantastic Four. Seriously, take notes. Also in this movie, the CG I thought was pretty decent. I did see some people dogging a little bit on that, and I don't think that was necessary. I mean, it's got your Marvel junk here and there with some shading not being correct.
Yep.
Especially Michelle Pfeiffer like petting one of the like aliens in the sky, and there being no shadow, then a shadow, and it's not clearly not there.
Right.
Other than maybe the Spy Kids 3D reference, which I think is hilarious. I don't
I
know.
don't see it.
I don't know if it's intentional or not.
Ah.
I don't know, but those colors are identical to the suits in that movie. I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. Only the director. would
Yes, I'm
know.
sure the directors.
And I don't think it's a coincidence because it's hilarious. You can't unsee it once you see it. But other than that, I think the battle scenes looked really well.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would you say was there any like really big standout piece? I think the climatic end. There's an end battle towards the end of this movie. That was probably one of the bigger events. Adam, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I liked that a lot. I think at one point Cassie was like running, and she looked pretty ragdollish. But I mean, other than that, I think nothing really stood out. I mean, unfortunately, besides
Yeah, something
the-
I thought about too, and I want to bring up is what did you think with Cassie? They don't really give her many different abilities to stand out, which I thought that was kind of interesting choice.
That's true.
That was one thing that I mean, you could have given her something because, like, you have the Wasp, Hope, who's got like she can fly.
Right.
She's more like the shrinking and large. She doesn't really grow large. She usually shrinks
Mm-hmm.
and does like her thing. And then you have Scott, who's like the hand-to-hand, grows giant, kind of does
small.
both. Hers is kind of just like his.
Maybe it's
really.
just 'cause
she's
she's
kind of
new to
like, yeah.
I think it's also going. This is more of like her gateway film as well.
Like an origin
I
story
think,
for
yeah,
her.
yeah.
And I'm curious what they're doing with that. 'Cause I think Young Avengers has to be in the horizon.
They're setting
at
it
some
up.
point.
I mean, there's so many young characters that
Yeah.
they're setting up. So
And that's another thing too. Cassie, we didn't really talk about. She did a really good job, I
Yeah,
thought, in this
I think so.
movie. Let's start with Julie. What did you think of her as far as this? Because again, it could have gone either way. I think.
Yeah, I think she struck like a nice balance to be not quite resentment towards her dad, but that, that teen angst and wanting to follow in his footsteps, but also do good for the world, and realizing that sometimes those might have repercussions that affect other people. So I think she was really, and she had that Paul Rudd charm. You could definitely sense that there was like a familial connection between the two of them. So I thought she did a nice job.
Yeah, I think so too. And I don't think she came across annoying or anything like that. Because that was definitely a worry, especially when you have like a generational character like that.
right, yeah. I mean, she really felt like she was Scott Lang's daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like a little mini like female Paul Rudd. a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
It kind of felt like
Uh-huh.
that. And the story again, I think the story they tell with that is pretty good. Again, the family dynamics really what helps make this movie tick,
Yeah.
even if it's a little bit unoriginal with what it's going on.
Yeah.
I still cared about the family. And again, like we kind of said earlier, there's actually stakes
Mm-hmm.
in this movie. Kang is threatening enough to what's happening to where I got a little, I wouldn't say worried, but like it felt like there was something more going
Right.
on to what
It works
than
for
what
this
was
movie.
happening. And I think it did a really good job with
Yeah.
that. One of the things that don't work in this movie, and of course I save it for the end here because I think it's the worst thing. Marvel likes to throw in characters that we all know and love as far as comic book fans, Marvel fans. Sometimes I feel like they're making fun of us. I don't know if you get that vibe occasionally where it's just like, so it's no surprise. What I'm saying is MODOK is in this movie. MODOK is a little small man with arms and legs,
Yep.
and he has weapons, and he flies around. At first, it wasn't too bad. He was introduced, and it was actually kind of cool. He had a relatively cool design.
Got his nice helmet on,
He had a nice
yeah.
helmet on with his large head covered.
Yeah.
And then they take off the helmet to reveal who he is. And again, I won't go into spoilers because this actually is kind of a spoiler. I didn't know that was what they were going to do with the character.
Right.
But I could tell you it's MODOK, and that won't change anything.
Right.
But the face. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. There's just some characters that just don't translate well to live action, and MODOK would happen to be one of them. I was not a fan of this at all, Adam.
Yeah, no, it was rough. It almost took me out of the film anytime, because it's so glaring how off-putting it is.
And the CG, Julie, was it just stretched out? What was going on with the face? Because it did. I mean, I know it's supposed to be a joke,
Yeah.
but it didn't
Well,
work.
it borderlines like, is his appearance, again, it's not supposed to be like, I don't know. Like, is he looking that bad because he's supposed to look that bad, or is it the CGI, or a combination of the two? 'Cause he looks bad.
He
and
does.
not like scary, like, oh, I'm intimidated by you bad. Like, he just looks bad. They should have kept the mask on him.
No, and it's not even like, again, he has weapons and he kind of flies around, and it's kind of more just like an annoyance as a character. Like, I never, again, you have someone like Kang,
Right.
who is so threatening, and he's supposed to have like
Right.
this lackey that he kind of took under his wing and
Right.
tie into the story, which again they're trying to
Yeah.
do, but he's not threatening.
It-
It's just annoying.
It almost feels like he doesn't even need to be there.
No.
He doesn't. You could have cut him out of the movie when it
Yeah.
changed. the
And it
damn
was
thing.
weird though too, because right before he's introduced, like the rest of, I guess, the citizens of the quantum realm are like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think they say his name, but they call him like Death or something, like, oh, he's coming or whatever, his minion's coming, you're gonna die or whatever, and then you see what it actually is, and you're like, oh, like,
It's
you
one of those
kind of
things
take
that
him down almost no problem.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you. Like,
Yeah.
It's one of those things. And then they also go a more comical route with the character, which I want to compliment this film because this is one of the few films where you can get away with a lot of the sarcastic comments. And 'cause,
Right.
again, it's
Right.
Paul Rudd masterclass as far as comedy.
Yep.
He knows comedy, he knows timing, and the rest of the cast kind of follows suit. They have that same personality. But man, Paul Rudd, it makes sense. I hear him crack a joke or turn like a dark situation to make it
Yeah.
like morbidly kind of funny. Makes sense to me.
Right.
Totally makes sense. MODOK being played for laughs most of the time as just this big joke, ongoing joke throughout the whole movie, and then with the end, how it's kind of dealt with, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It really just doesn't. It's a shame because I think, if you're a big fan of MODOK, and I'm sure there are somewhere.
I'm sure
typing
there
in the
is.
comments,
I'm
people
sure
yelling
there
at me
is.
because they loved MODOK. Sorry,
dare
guys.
you.
MODOK just doesn't work. I know he had a show on Hulu or something
Yep.
like that,
Yep.
and that seems to be like the more appropriate route for it.
Which I think that I didn't watch
that's
it, but
played
I'm
for
assuming
laughs,
that there was
too.
comedy and that
I think it was a
Yes.
comedy
Patton
show.
Oswalt voicing
But
him in that.
and maybe that works there. It
Right.
just doesn't work here.
Right.
In this story that you're trying
Yeah.
to tell, especially with a presence like Kang. I don't
Yes.
think it works. A lot of the other comedy too. Again, I think it did work overall.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, you actually pointed out it definitely was a little more mature in tone. So are we seeing like a change? Maybe.
Yeah,
in the
I
Marvel
mean-
cinematic universe here.
Like, I like to imagine that some of the Marvel movies, they're, while we enjoy watching them as well, like, they're also supposed to be geared towards kids as well.
Right.
So for them to start throwing out, a bunch of cuss words like, dick
Yeah.
and
And we're not
shit
prudes. Not
and
prudes. Just
hell, like,
observations.
Yeah.
right?
I mean-
Like, I don't have any problem with it.
Right.
But, like, I don't know. It's just odd to see Disney take this route.
And it's not the first time because Doctor Strange is like the prime example where
the
we were
horror.
bordering rated R there for a little bit with
Absolutely.
Scarlet Witch twisting herself out of a mirror and
Yeah.
like blood pouring all out of her.
Right.
Yeah.
A little dark, and even Thor, even a little more mature with some of their
Yes.
tones and stuff
Yep.
too.
Kidnapping children.
Kidnapping children,
Yeah.
and just the whole we broke up, and it's like it seems like they're gearing the Marvel Cinematic Universe more towards adults. Starting to see a bit of a trend
Right.
here, and I wonder what that leaves for the younger audience. That's kind of curious to think about too.
Right.
I mean, I would like to think that, a lot of the jokes are going over their head, and
I
then
think
there's just
Mm-hmm.
appreciating, seeing the superheroes fight the supervillains.
I'm trying to think. Were there a lot of younger kids in the theater? There were a couple.
There were definitely a couple. I don't
Yeah, not as much
remember
as I
there
would
being.
expect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you wonder sometimes. This is an observation, with the shift in the audience there and
Right.
what Disney's trying to accomplish. I mean, I guess they know who spends the money on things.
Yeah.
Right.
Who spends the money on these things? I couldn't tell you. But again, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, not bad at all. I think
Right.
it's a really good time. I think we're ready to give final scores, guys. I'm gonna give Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania an 8 out of 10.
You've made a big mistake. Okay? I'm an Avenger. I've called the other Avengers.
You're an Avenger. Have I killed you before?
What?
They all blur together after a while. You're not the one with the hammer.
That's Thor. We get confused a lot. Similar body types.
I think this is a fun movie. Again, I haven't seen a sci-fi movie this fun in quite a while, and that's really sad saying, especially since Star Wars has kind of been around. It's a good time. Just shut off your brain, enjoy what's there. Don't think too deep into it. Enjoy Kang. This is like the big introduction for Kang. This is his big moment. But also enjoy the little moments too. Enjoy the little guy. As they say. Make way for the little guy here. It's good. I think there is something special here. I don't think it's as bad as everyone's saying. And
Right.
I'm kind of curious as to why it's getting so much hate. It's one of those strange things, especially with some of the other outings we've had. It's one of the better ones. Again, maybe that says something right there that this is one of the better ones out
Right.
of what we've gotten. But again, I don't think that's the case. I would definitely watch this again.
Yeah.
Ant-Man, Wasp, Quantumania, good time. Adam, where do you stand with this one?
I am going to give Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania an 8 out of 10 as well.
There are beings down here, intelligent beings. I always theorized it was possible, but to be here, a subatomic universe, this changes everything we know about life, evolution, our place in the galaxy. Holy that guy looks like broccoli.
It's a fun ride. I think that there's, it brings a lot to the table, and it succeeds in most areas. Of course, MODOK or some of the other drawbacks that we have, they make it suffer a little bit, but it's nothing that won't detract from the movie, ruin your experience, I
It's
guess.
interesting because we're so critical sometimes, I think, on these type of movies.
Right.
And it seems like it's always come out of nowhere because we went for a long time where we never had a comic book movie.
Yeah.
And it's okay sometimes to just be an action movie.
Right.
And shut off your brain and
Yeah.
have an
Yeah.
adventure. You don't always have to have all these like big, deep, interpersonal connected stories
Right.
and like
Right.
emotions and It's just an adventure. It's kind of just an adventure.
I think that's what makes
it's a
this movie
popcorn.
work.
This is a
Supposed to be
popcorn movie.
escapism.
Yeah, it
And
works.
It is, and I think it really is. Julie, where do you stand with this one?
I'm going to give Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania an 8 out of 10 as well.
How about some music?
And in that moment, all I could think was, how did the Hulk turn me into a baby? Will I be a baby forever? Am I the Hulk's baby?
Dad, are you listening to your own book?
But I was ready for anything.
No, that's
Steve
this
and I
is the radio.
close over that.
Turn it
It's
off.
so weird. Something's wrong with this switch. It won't turn
I
up.
said turn it off.
What's that? Turn it up? All right.
A little after that, a raccoon from space showed up. I don't think he knew my name. I was just happy to meet a raccoon who could talk.
Excellent performances from America's Treasure Paul Rudd and Jonathan Majors. They really were entertaining, along with all of the other supporting cast members. An enjoyable time overall. Not a minute dragged by. It was fast-paced, enjoyable the whole way through. Lots of laughs, but also, repercussions that are going to continue to shape the MCU going forward.
Yeah, and I think that's the most interesting thing, because this really does debut Kang in such a strong...
Yes.
This is like the backstory that we kind of needed. Where
Right.
Thanos, we kind of got a backstory like later on.
It
This
kind
is
of
the
trickled
first-
on, trickled
Yeah,
on.
when we got like a
trickled
big
on.
reveal towards the end, but we kind of got it up front now. So that's
Yes.
what kind of leave me more interesting to where it's going to go going forward. The
Right.
groundwork's there.
Right.
I can't wait to see where it goes. But thank you guys all so much for joining us for this episode of The Real Review. My name's Kevin. That's Adam. That's Julie. We are The Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. Catch you next time.
Peace.
Bye.
If you guys like what you've seen here today, consider giving this video a like and leaving your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to stay up to date with everything Real Movie Guys related, make sure to hit that subscribe button and check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And don't forget, all you audio listeners at home, we are available on many podcasting platforms. Just search The Real Movie Guys, we should pop right up. Thank you again all so much for joining us on this episode of The Real Review. We are The Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. Catch you next time.